Before heading to Ginzan Onsen, we started our day doing some sightseeing in Yamagata. We visited the Folk Museum, which was the old prefectural office building, with some pretty European architecture and interior. We came across this alley with some grocery stores where we picked up some quick lunch. Here is our selection of sushi and croquettes. I chose this fried prawn one. Then we headed to Yamagata Station, where we boarded the bullet train. After about 1 hour and some pretty views as we headed further into the countryside, we reached Oishida Station. From there, our hotel actually sent out a van to take us to Ginzan Onsen, since you would normally have to take a bus. And this is the famous inn which people say is the real-life version of the bathhouse from Spirited Away. The town itself is actually very small. It's pretty much just this one strip of inns on either side of the river, and at the end there's a waterfall tucked in amongst the mountains. We stayed at Fujiya Inn for our first night. The architecture was really modern. They gave us some welcome snacks. This was a red bean mochi with green tea filling. The rooms were also very minimalistic and modern, and you get a nice view overlooking the river and the other inns nearby. We had a dip in the hot spring before they brought dinner to our room. We started with some sweet wine and appetizers, and then some sashimi. Look at this cute fish cake. At this point I started losing track of what they brought out, but it was all really good. This was some steamed egg, and then some soba. After dinner they set up our futons, but before we slept we stepped out to see the view at night. And it really did feel straight out of a Studio Ghibli film. To end our night, we tried a few of the other hot springs the inn had, which were all private baths that were open 24/7. Next morning, they came to lay out this breakfast spread for us before we checked out. There was salmon and rice, and also this tofu dipped in soy sauce, and some fruit and yogurt. We had some time to kill before checking into our next inn, so we went to this little cafe. I actually rented out this pretty kimono that I'm wearing, which was around $50 for a whole day. Our second night we stayed at Takimikan, a much older and more traditional inn. The room was so homey and it was tucked away in the mountains. We had a dip in the open-air bath before we had another big dinner. They served us similar appetizers and then this grilled beef. And soup, sashimi, and this interesting plastic bag. Which turned out to be some steamed fish and veggies. Then we ended the meal with some soba and some dessert. Before we left Ginzan Onsen, we had one last breakfast spread for our last day, and then our hotel dropped us back at the nearest train station.